Hey, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining me for Lunch and Learn episode 13. And we are going to be talking today about, are you growing or are you dying? Because if you're not growing, you are dying. And a lot of people think that growth will happen automatically. And so we're going to talk about some of the growth gaps today. And this is all John C. Maxwell, who a lot of you guys know that I had the pleasure of being mentored from for a year. And I continue to read his books, and I continue to study him. And I actually just got the pleasure of seeing him again in Atlanta doing an entire program called Leaders Multiply with the entire network marketing industry. So, you know, John Maxwell, for the first time, is actually endorsing the network marketing industry, and his program was amazing. So anyway, we're going to talk about the growth gaps today. And this is a big one because, growth traps, because a lot of people are just kind of on autopilot. And I'll say this as a blanket statement, and I'm probably going to say this a few times during this call, is that if you had in your possession, in your arsenal, in your mindset, everything you needed to go where you want to go, you would already be there. Think about that. So if you had everything you needed to go where you want to go, you would already be there. So let me grab my book. Give me one sec. All right, let's talk about the 8 growth traps, because you 100% have to keep growing. And before we go in the trap, I'm just going to say as a general mindset is that you have been programmed all of your life by things that are outside of your control. So media, parents, pop culture, TV, movies, coaches, pastors, to think a certain way and to be a certain way. And that has led you to where you are today. So unless you grow and start being intentional about it, you're going to be where you are today in 5 years from now, in 10 years from now, in 20 years from now. And so growth is not something that we just want you to, invest in tapes and books and gurus and go to Tony Robbins and jump around, all that. It's actually it's changed my life. I went from a 6-figure income to a 7-figure income when I started changing the way I thought. And that was a process of growth. That was a process of filling my mind with different thoughts and different ideas and, a different way of thinking. I didn't get to be a 7-figure earner in this industry, multi-7-figure earner, by accident. So the, growth and change does not happen by accident. So let's talk about the 8 growth traps. So number 1 is the assumption gap. I assume I will automatically get there, and no one improves by accident. That would be like ridiculous saying that you want to be a Major League Baseball player and that you're just going to automatically, really get good. Or if you want to be a pro golfer and you can't putt and you can't drive, but you're just going to automatically get better. No, those people have coaches. Those people have, training. You're not going to get better just by default, right? Now, will you learn? Sure. Will you grow? Sure. There is a lot to be said about moral authority and walking the walk and doing the things. Like, I have learned a lot in my 9.5 years by building a business. I've learned a lot about, recruiting and rejection and a lot of things, but I still had to keep, improving myself, and I still had to keep being intentional about what I was putting in my brain. So there comes a time where you decide that you no longer want to be who you are and you want to be better, right? That every day you have to improve, but it has to be intentional. Growth has to be intentional. Just because you grew automatically and because you went from being a little baby to an adult, that happened automatically. So sometimes we assume that the rest falls into place. And unfortunately, you not only have the fact that it doesn't happen automatically, but you're also battling, programming that you've had all your life. So if you are, 30 years old, you've been battling bad programming for 30 years. If you're 40, you've been, battling bad programming for 40 years. So there's a subconscious belief, I think, that people assume that they're going to get better. Now, there is a lot to be said for doing it. You know, can you grow? Of course. Can you grow a little bit? But you're going to have to get on a path of personal development. You're going to have to really immerse yourself. Again, these are trainings for people who want to go to the top. I'm not talking about people who want to be mediocre. I don't want to talk about people who want to, you know, show up and do the minimum. These trainings are to teach you how to have massive success in your network marketing business. Okay. Number 2 trap is the knowledge trap. I don't know how to grow, right? Hang on, I need to get my water. Sorry. Okay, I don't know how to grow. So, a lot of people say, well, how do I do it? Well, ask people who are ahead of you what they're doing, right? Learning, growing, reading, you know, getting out there. You know, part of growth is doing it. Moral authority, the highest form of influence is moral authority, walking the walk. So that is intentional, and that's hard. That's the hardest part. The school of hard knocks, right? That's just actually going out and learning it. But the longer you wait to do something, the greater odds you will actually never do anything. So here's the bottom line is it's much better to plan your growth intentionally and decide every single day in what areas you want to grow. So for example, people always say that, you know, I'm not confident, you know, presenting. Great. That's an area that you need to be intentional about growth. You know, that means that you put yourself into more situations, that you put those on the calendar, that you, you know, because I mean, guys, let's face it, that doing something over and over again, if you survive, your brain will tell you you survived. So if you're like, oh, I'm terrible at closing, well then great, get better at closing. I'm terrible at following up. Well, then that's the area that you need to grow in, right? Don't let that be your excuse for very long. You know, keep saying it over and over again isn't going to change it. It's going to make it worse because you're going to start, you know, living with that story of you're not great at follow-up or you're not great at closing or you just don't have the right personality. You know, you're going to have, you know, a clear path of what you want to change and then the discipline to change it, right? So, you know, years ago when I started speaking on stage, I thought I wasn't very good. I thought, gosh, I stand too long in one spot. I look at people and I feel them like mentally drifting, or, you know, I get feedback. And so I started reading books, and, you know, of course, everyone knows my bookshelf's up here. I started reading things like How to Wow and The Excellent, or something great presenter or something. Like, I started being intentional because I wanted to be good at that. Because if I was going to get in the platform where I could, you know, speak in front of 12,000 people, 8,000 people, I wanted to be good, right? I wanted to get good. I wanted to be impactful, you know, because I have a great experience and a great story to share. And that I don't want people to be so caught up on how uncomfortable I look or how, you know, weird I look, and actually get the message. So, you know, find out where you need to grow in, because it's not going to happen automatically. And it's not an excuse of you don't know how. What you do is you figure out where you want to grow, and then you find the resources to help you grow in that area. The third gap is the timing gap. It's not the right time to begin. Oh my gosh. Well, here's the thing is the timing is never going to be perfect. Ever. You're never going to have an abundance of time. You're never going to have an abundance of, perfect timing. There is no such thing. There's no such thing as perfect timing. There's no such perfect timing on when to get married, when to have kids, when to start a business. I mean, it's never going to be perfect. It's never. And I always say that once you make a decision and you make it on sound principles, you know, guided by your values, your desires, your passions, and once you have all the information, make the decision. Like, make it, and make it fast. Because there's nothing worse than sitting on the fence. In fact, Andrew Carnegie says that a person who cannot make a decision quickly once having all the information will never see a project through. And so, you know, sometimes my husband thinks I'm a little like crazy, and Well, I am a little crazy, but he thinks I'm a little impulsive, right? Because I can make a decision very quickly. And well, he thinks it's very quickly. I actually usually mull it over in my brain for weeks and weeks before I bring it to his attention, because I do want to really, you know, 'cause some of the decisions we've made are really big ones, like joining businesses or closing businesses or, you know, whatnot. But I usually have internalized it for a long time. But what I realized is, you know, if something sounds good and you can see yourself in the situation and you can see that bettering your life and bettering the life of others, and it is aligned with your values and your integrity, and it's aligned with the vision of what you want, your definitive purpose, and that's something that you really should work on, because if you have a definitive purpose, right now is the best time, right? Right now. There's no better time than right now to start your future, to start your dreams, to start your passions. Like if you desire to have better health, you know, it's so funny. Like people are like, oh, I'm going to quit smoking after that wedding, or I'm going to go on a diet after that wedding. Like start now. And if you have a bad day because you went to a wedding, then you have one bad day, but it's better than having 18 days before that wedding to eat like crap. That's certainly going to get you further and further away from your goal. So, you know, if you make a decision that you're going to change something and you want something to change, you start today. You start now, like this minute. Because I'll remind you again, for those of you who logged in just recently, is, you know, growth has to happen intentionally. If you had everything you needed right now to go where you want to go, you would already be there. And that's in... Sorry about that. My internet was going out. In relationships and health and business, you have to get better. You have to change your mindset. You know, I was just reading today about... you know, someone was talking about getting healthy and obesity and stuff. And I said, you know, obesity is not a disease of the body. It's a disease of the mind, right? Because we all know what it takes to lose weight. Eat right, exercise, cut your calories. But what happens is people aren't ready to make a change. I mean, obesity is an addiction. It's the most widely accepted addiction because it's an addiction to food. Now, I'm just using this as an example. But what happens is people buy a weight loss kit and then they put it in their pantry next to Jell-O and cookies and chips and crackers and, you know, all this garbage. And they think that they're going to be strong enough. Well, that's like someone saying, I want to stop being an alcoholic, but I'm going to surround myself with bottles of alcohol. It's not going to happen, right? You have to change your mindset. You have to change your surroundings. You have to change your patterns. You have to change your triggers. You got to change your environment if you want to change. So, you know, the timing is never going to be perfect. You just have to make a decision based on what you want to change right now and start toward it. Don't say, I'll do it someday. There is no such thing. There is no day called someday, and someday never comes. Someday is always in the future, so don't forget that. So if you just, you know, if you keep putting it off, it's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. You just have to do it. And are you going to fail? Of course you're going to fail. You're going to fail in relationships. You're going to fail in health. You're going to fail in business. But that's okay as long as you're progressing forward. Even if you go forward from here to here and then fall back to here, it's still better where you started. And that's in everything. There is no downside to ever growing in any area of your life, because eventually it's going to help you to slowly inch toward where you want to be. Also, you know, one great way is immersion, right? If I want to do something, my husband teases me because like if I'm going on vacation or I'm going to a wedding, he goes, oh, here comes the juice cleanse, here comes the no carb, right? But you know what? I get it done. So I have lost 14 pounds in 14 days before doing an all raw vegan alkaline diet. Like I know how to do stuff, right? If I need to hit a certain rank in a company, or I need to get somebody at a certain rank, I know how to do it. I go all out, right? Because I mean, you just do what you need to do when you need to get it done. I figure like immersion is one of the best ways to start your goal and to keep it going. But the timing will never be right. There is never going to be a little birdie whispering in your ear going, now is the time to change your life. You just have to decide, you know, how bad do you want to stay in your current situation, right? Because if you had everything you needed to go to where you want to go, you would already be there. So you got to change your current situation. So you got to look at the areas that you want to change and look at the areas that are holding you back from that change. Number 4, the mistake gap. I'm afraid of making mistakes. Welcome to reality. Welcome to life. You know, you're going to fail your way to the top. You're going to fail your way to success. But the bottom line is, going back to weight loss, just because I love, you know, just using something that people can physically see. Like, even if you failed at 100 weight loss programs, but then you succeeded in one and got down to your ideal weight and your ideal body and were healthy and fit, does it matter how many times that you failed, right? Does it matter how many times that you had a piece of cherry pie or a Snickers bar attack or something? No, it doesn't matter. As long as you just keep knowing that you're going to make mistakes in everything. You're going to make your mistakes in business and in parenting. Gosh, I mean, all the time I'm like, I got to stop yelling at my kids. I got to stop yelling at my kids. And then they do something and I yell and I'm like, But is it still better to be conscious of it and working toward it than not, right? I'm sure I'm still yelling less than when I didn't have an intention of not wanting to yell. I'm just using that as an example. But a mistake is good. Mistakes give you information. A mistake is just teaching you a different way to do something. So, please know that whatever you do, you're not going to know exactly what to do, right? You're going to make mistakes. You're going to say the wrong thing. You're going to give the wrong information. You're going to fail. You're going to get information. You keep going. Fail your way to the top, right? And growing is not as simple as you think it is. In fact, growing makes you admit that you don't know the answers, and it's required that you make mistakes, because again, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result, right? So a lot of people, what they do is they do something and they have a mistake and then they go back to the way it was, but the way it was got you to where you are today. So just mistakes give you information. It's feedback. It's like, I did that. That didn't work. Do it a different way. Number 5 is the perfection gap. I have to find the best way to do it before I start. Oh, no. There's a zillion weight loss programs at work. There's a zillion ways to build a business, right? There's thousands of companies in our industry with thousands of different systems. And it's kind of similar to the perfection gap is, it's like you want to find the best way. I need to find, I have people who are like, I need the perfect script. I need the perfect script before I invite people to my launch event or my launch call. I need the perfect words to say to them, because if I don't have the most intelligent, crisp, perfect invitation, I'm not going to have success. That's what people think. And I'll tell you right now, in my first business, which was also a health and wellness business, I literally walked around saying, I found an opportunity to help people get healthy and make a ton of money. Do you want to hear about it? That's it. Oh my gosh, I'm helping people get healthy and there's a lot of money to be made. This gal over here, she's making $300,000 a year in her first year. I don't know about you, but I'm going to figure out how she did it, because that sounds pretty awesome. That was my entire pitch for my first 2 years. I didn't be like, hey, are you open to making additional income in the health and wellness industry? If so, I would love to sit down and show you what I'm doing. Boo, no. And it's funny because a lot of you got into network marketing on a similar type of invitation. Your best friend called and said, oh my gosh, I just found a lottery ticket and all you need to do is come to this meeting and figure out how to cash it. And you're like, okay, what gives? And you looked at the information and you joined. But you're scared to say that to somebody else because you think you have to be perfect. I always ask people the question when they say this to me, and I need a script, I need to know what to say, what do I invite? I say, what did the person who got you to join, what did they say? They said, oh my God, I found out a way to make a ton of money. You should look at this video. Oh, and it got you? Huh, imagine that. But then you're afraid to say that to someone. That's a perfection gap. You think you have to be perfect. You think you have to be eloquent. You think you have to be studied. And that's not all personality types. That's only a couple of them. I would say probably more, red greens than anything. Blues are just like, making money and having fun. But the greens are like, I got to have every dot in a row. And reds are like, I want to go to the top. So I got to make sure I don't screw myself up. And yellows are just, can I help you get to the top? Anyway, you should really, we got to do a call on the 4 personality types to understand them. But you don't have to be perfect. Just start. To be in weight loss, you don't have to have all your ducks in a row and have your water bottles and your meal prep. Like, oh gosh, when people meal prep, I'm like, good for you. I don't even know what I'm going to cook for dinner tonight. Like, that's how unmeal prepped I am. So like, don't even think you have to be perfect. Just start. Like, People are like, ooh, ready, aim, and they never fire. Like, maybe I'm just dumb or ignorant, but I just fire, and then I'm like, oh, I fired the wrong place. Better fire someone else, right? Just start firing. Just start doing something. Do. Because when you do, you'll make mistakes and you'll grow. All right, number 6, the inspiration gap. Oh, this is a good one. I don't feel like doing it. Welcome to being human. I don't feel like eating salads, but I know it's going to get me to my goal. I don't feel like making phone calls sometimes, but I know it's going to move my business forward. I don't feel like biting my tongue when my husband's being a jerk, but I have to do that, or I would be unhealthy, unhappy, broke, and unmarried. You know what I mean? Like, there's always a lot of stuff you don't feel like doing. Welcome to freaking humanity. Welcome to being human. And it's like, I just can't motivate myself. I just don't, like, well, then you don't love what you do. If you love what you do, you love where you want to go, you love your body, you love your relationship, you love your children, you love your spouse, you want prosperity, you love your dreams, you love the mission you're on. If you love all that, nothing has to motivate you. So you just have to decide what you want and why you want it. Because when you're clear on what you want and why you want it, and you want it bad enough, then you're going to do it no matter what, even when you don't feel like it. And especially, like, last night was Halloween. I'm out with my kids. We have a neighborhood block party. We've got, surrounding neighborhoods. We have like the kick-ass party. And I wanted a couple glasses of wine, right? But I also knew that it's end of month. I was literally on the phone until 12:30 last night working with my team. Did I want to? No. I wanted to not put my phone, I wanted to put my phone away while I trick-or-treated. And I wanted to put my phone away while I watched my kids, sort their candy. And I wanted to put my phone away while I rested after having a long day of parties and parades and trick-or-treating and stuff. But I didn't, because I know that I have a team and I had dozens of people that were relying on me to help them in things that I can only do with my leadership role to finish their month strong. So I didn't feel like doing that, but I did it anyway, right? You're not always going to feel like growing. You're not always going to feel like doing, but remember, if you had everything you needed to go where you want to go, you would already be there. So it's too bad, so sad, but if you want your goals and dreams and you want the perfect body and you want great relationships and you want wealth and you want retirement and all these things that are on your dream board, you're never going to feel like it. And you're going to feel like it sometimes. You're going to come out of events or you're going to read a movie or a quote and you're going to feel like it for a minute, but you're not always going to feel like it. You aren't. You're not always going to be inspired. Even I have days where I'm like, I wish I could just not work today. Not because I don't love working, but just because some days I just want to turn it off, right? Not because I don't love what I'm doing, but there's just a day or two in the last 9 years that I, don't feel like reading my 10 pages, right? And some days I don't. Then I just read 10 the next day or I read 20 the next day. So whatever it is, you're not always going to feel like doing it, and just accept that and forgive yourself and just try to push past it as much as possible. Now, if you go like a whole month without feeling, then you probably should redesign your goals and your dreams, because if you don't feel like doing it for a month, then I'm going to guess that it's not something that you really want. The 7th gap is the comparison gap. Others are better than I am. So a lot of people, and this is so true and so big in our industry, that a lot of people won't even start their business, or they sabotage it because they're comparing themselves to others. Well, this person went to this rank in 45 minutes, and I've been in this for 45 months, and I'm still not having that much success. Well, that's because you're not looking at what they've done. People always say to me, Tara, I wish I could, have what you have. And I said, oh, you can, but most of you aren't willing to do what I've done to get here, because I know this, because you tell me you want to, be at my intergalactic global rank, but I've missed a couple of my son's sporting events, and I see you every week, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, all day Thursday, all you're talking about is being at your child's, and I think it's great that you're helping your child with their dream, but you got to carve out a little time for your own, right? I have made sacrifices. I have been away from my family. I have, missed weddings. I have missed funerals. I have gotten up during the middle of dinner time. Now, I've learned over the years there's a difference between making mistakes and there's difference between making sacrifices to know the difference. But you have to run your own race in your own lane and know that people are always going to be better than you. People are better than me. But this cool thing is if you're at the top of your class, you're in the wrong class. Like one time I left a company just because I was literally the top of the class. I was literally the best. I went to an event and I won every award. Not almost every award, including a global leadership award. It's actually sitting right here. That they gave to me, and they had cross-line people. The entire company voted on the leader, right? So half the company's not even in my downline, yet I got and voted this leader, and I won every production award, every leadership award, there was 0 awards that I didn't win, and that was a moment. Most people would be like, oh, this is amazing, I'm the best, and bask in their glory. And I remember sitting there, and there's even a picture on Facebook of me sitting there looking like this, and all I could think of at that moment is, I have to leave this company. I know that sounds crazy, right? You're sitting there like the moment you're waiting for, you're on stage, in front of your peers, in front of your team, and all I could think about was, I have to leave this company because there's nowhere else to go. I'm not going to learn. I'm not going to grow. I'm not going to stretch. I have nothing to strive for. And because of that, I am the lid and, there is no more growing. And so I'm stopping my people. And I realized that nobody else was having success either. And that's when I made a decision to leave. I know that's crazy, huh? So bottom line is everyone, you always have people that are better than you. Watch them, learn from them, but just know that they were born into this world just like you, without those skills, without those habits, without that discipline, without that mindset, that they intentionally grew, and they might have grown faster, whether it was intentional by studying, reading, doing, or just out there doing it, right? But they did something. They have immersed themselves because people aren't just naturally talented. It's so far and few between. Another great book on that is Outliers. That says that, the key to true success, like in professional sports, or if you want to be a musician or whatever, is 10,000 hours. They got their 10,000 hours in faster than you. And maybe they're at 20,000 hours and you're at 3,000 hours and you're comparing yourself to them. Just compare yourself to who you were yesterday. And if you can say, I'm better today than I was yesterday, I controlled my thoughts, I controlled my behaviors, I did more, I got closer to my goals, then you are on your right path. That will change your life more than anything. And the last gap is the expectation gap. I thought it would be easier. That's my favorite one because professionals make everything look easy, man. When I was watching the World Series game the other day, and they make it look easy, but you got to remember that those men have been playing baseball probably since they were 3 years old. And let's say the average one's 25. So what's 22 years of probably at least 2,000 hours? They're probably 40,000 hours in. And while their buddies were at fraternity parties, they were at practice, and they were in bed early, and they were getting up, and they were working out. And while everybody's eating pizza and drinking beer, they're eating healthy food. They're watching what they eat, right? This is intentional, guys. Like, they make it look easy because they've done it so many times. When people say, wow, Tara, you speak on stage, you're a natural. Well, no, I just did this thousands. I've had these conversations thousands and thousands of times. When I do a 3-way call with someone, I have done 3-way calls for 9.5 years, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of times. If I'm not good at it by now, I really need to change careers, right? So, fitness people, they make it look so easy to go to the gym and to eat clean, and then I go do it, and I'm like I vacillate between a yoga enthusiast and an unsupervised child in a candy store. Like, that's my range right there, and I'm sure most of you do. But you got to just understand that it's going to be 10 times harder. You're going to have to make more calls. You're going to have to sacrifice more to get where you want to go, right? Because again, if you had everything and were doing everything you needed to do to go where you want to go, you would already be there, right? If you want a better body, you're going to have to cut out more calories. You're going to have to exercise more. You're going to have to put more good stuff in your body. You're going to have to cut out more. You're going to have to stop drinking alcohol. And I love people like, oh, I want to lose weight, but I don't want to stop drinking alcohol. Well, that stops your metabolism, right? You can't have both. So, you can't have a poverty mindset and a wealthy bank account. You can't have both. You can't be making excuses and be growing at the same time. You can't have both. So John Maxwell just says, growth is preparation. And preparation plus your attitude and the opportunity is, and plus action is doing something about it is luck. So I'm going to say that growth, which is preparation, plus attitude, plus opportunity, plus action equals luck. So if somebody appears lucky, no. They've been growing. They have a great attitude. They have stumbled upon the opportunities, which you will too, but you might have been ill prepared at the same opportunity. So they look lucky, but they weren't lucky. They were just prepared and they took action. I swear some people, they've joined my team and they said, I was actually told about this 2 years ago on a plane and I gave my information to the person and they never called me. So, and that person goes on to build a team of 5,000. Am I lucky? The person that didn't follow up could have been the lucky one too, but they didn't take action when they had the opportunity. They weren't prepared and they didn't do it. Same situation, but one took action on it because they were prepared. The other person got the same luck. They sat next to the same guy in the airplane, but one took action. I want you to really think about that. There is no such thing in luck. And I'll leave you this quote that Jim Rohn says, you cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. In fact, you can change your direction right now. You can decide enough is enough right now. You can decide that you're going to do more, be more, have more right now. You can decide that you're going to have healthy relationships, that you're going to have a healthy body, and you're going to have a healthy bank account right now. Okay? Because I'll leave with this is, you have to grow intentionally, because if you don't, you're never going to get where you want to go. Because if you had everything you needed to go where you want to go, you would already be there. All your decisions and what you have learned and what you have been programmed to up to this point in your life has got you everything you have. The body you have, the health you have, and the income you have coming in, and the money that you have in your bank accounts. It has all been a series of who you are. That's what you're worth right now. So if you want to raise your worth, you're going to have to raise your value. You're going to have to grow. You're going to have to go out and do more. You're going to have to go read more. You're going to have to be around people, and you're going to have to take your skill set to another level. So that's all I have today. I'll stick around if anybody has a few questions. But just what we're looking for questions is a few things to think about is, where do you want to go in life? What direction do you want to go? What could you do now if you made a decision now that would make your 5 years from now different, right? So I want you to picture yourself in your ideal state. I know, ouch, right? 5 years from now. Is your bank account bigger? Is your relationship growing and thriving, or is it dying? Is your body to where you want it to be, whether it's skinny or fit or lean muscle or, whatever? Like, I want you to sit there and think about what your life looks like in 5 years from now. What decisions can you make today to intentionally grow in those areas? And what's the farthest you can imagine going? So maybe 5 years from now you say, well, I can have $1 million in the bank, but can you imagine having $20 million in the bank? Can you imagine having $10 million in the bank? What is possible? Don't limit yourself. Make sure that you keep growing and ask yourself, not how far can I go, but when do I get there, but how far can I go? There is no finish line. You can always improve your body in every way and every day. You can always improve your relationships, right? You can always improve your business. You can always improve your level of confidence and your skill set. You can always improve. Always, always, always. But you have to do it intentionally. And don't forget, if you're not growing, you're dying. Because if you had everything you needed to be where you want to go, you would already be there. So thank you guys so much for joining in on episode 13. I hope you're enjoying these Lunch and Learns, to play them wherever you are, in whatever time zone, to take your skill set and turn your lunch time into learn time. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Create Wealth with Tara. youtube.com, Create Wealth with Tara. I upload these daily, and please feel free to send them to somebody who needs to hear these specific messages. So thank you guys, and have a wonderful day. See you tomorrow.